The sales workflow software is used to track product and jobs in various industries, including electronics, medical, chemical, aerospace, food, and textile, etc. We will be giving you a brief demonstration of cells and how it works in the PC board manufacturing industry. We will be showing the software itself that the user interfaces with, and also the database behind Cell's software. The first thing that the user would do is to log in, and that can either be with a keyboard or by scanning a Mylar type of card to make it a little simpler. The operator would then put in their name or scan it in from their badge, password if required, and then they can select the operation station that they're at. The stations can be, they're virtual stations, so they can either, they're virtual name stations, so they can either be at a physical location or just an identified name for a particular operation. The user information is located in a database. Unisoft's Cell software is ODBC compliant, so you can attach it to any type of database. Typically, if you're a smaller manufacturer, that would be Access, or if you're a little larger, Oracle or SQL is fine. The tables, the standard tables are assembly, conditions, data entry, items, defects, your linked documents, your history table, which is basically a write table where we collect information. Next step table, which is the routing table for all your operations. Your operations defects, your actual operations, processes, the station identifiers, sub-assemblies. When you're box building, you would present it with a sub-assembly architecture for as the box build goes out forward and being assembled. And the users, and then the WIP table is all the current product on the production floor, and then the work order tables are your active work orders at that time. The users are in the user table. It's very simple. The administrator would put these in. They can have passwords. They can also be grouped together. So for instance, if they're qualified to do particular operations, they would only be allowed to do those operations. If they picked up the piece, however, and they weren't allowed, it would still record it that they were the last ones that actually worked on the piece. The operator would then select the station, and we're going to select incoming inspection. Mary's going to be working on it. We'll put her password in, and then basically she can now open work a number of different ways. He or she, in this case Mary, could either open by serial number. You could either type the serial number in, scan the serial number in. They can also open by work order, defect number. There's also a very useful feature here called open from list after selecting operation. And basically what that allows the person to do is, if they are at a particular workstation, they can search the whole production floor for anything that needs that operation. And it's helpful early in the morning before management's in to tell people what to do. They can get started right away. So we'll select operation, incoming inspection, and then we'll search for work. And it'll basically find two open work orders, work order 21 and 22. Work order 21 has 183 pieces that need to be done. Work order 22 has 91 that need this incoming inspection operation. So we'll pick work order 21. We'll open the unit, and then the operator would start on their task for that. In this case, we have some operations that need to be done, enter lot date code, etc. And I'll skip that here. And then for inspection, we have a PC board that's active from the ProntoView markup product. We actually have a active display and overlays that are attached as part of the operation instruction. At the top, we have the status, and it's Mary. She's at operation incoming inspection, assembly 0001, work order 21, quantity 1. The routing is defined in the next step table, and it's quite simple. Basically, we have our process steps, the process ID. We have the steps in the operation steps in the process, and we have the conditions to leave the process. So for example, here we're going to start process 1, and we're going to go to ININ, which is incoming inspection. And at that point, once the unit is finished, it will default to a pass and then go to pre-prep, or the operator has the options to do an electrical failure or a mechanical failure or whatever operation the process engineer defines for that. And the unit keeps walking this route path until it comes to either $done, which means the operation is finished, or $scrap. When the unit is finished, then it can be attached in a box build operation through sub-assemblies, and that's how quite complex builds are done. If you're just doing a single circuit board, then the $done would mean that the board is complete and could go to stock. I'll explain a little bit more about the tables quickly. The assembly table is basically where you put your major assemblies, and they'll be tied to processes with serial numbers or work orders or both. Your conditions are your basically your defect codes, and this is your numeric for the defect code, which is your brief, and then this is your enhanced verbose explanation of the defect code. You can have as many as you want, and these defect codes can be assigned to particular operations through this table, the operations defect table. So essentially what happens is on a particular step, you obviously don't want to see all the defect codes presented to the operator for in the whole company for that step, so it limits just the germane defect codes to that step. We have a very useful feature called data items, which can then be associated to data entries. Data items basically allows you to create any type of collection data item at any step in the process, and you can make it either mandatory or non-mandatory. So for example, at a particular step, you may want to pick up a date code off the unit, and you would set your description, set your data type, whether it was text or year date, set your min max range if it's a date range, etc. If it's a subassembly that's being attached to the unit at this point, then you would create the subassembly as a data item, in either have that mandatory where this unit has to be attached to the existing unit, or non-mandatory. In the data entry table, you basically apply the data items to the particular operations. For this operation in pre-prep, we're going to require a date code be logged from reference location U1, and we're going to make that a mandatory requirement before, so the unit will not pass to the next step until that operation is complete. In the documents table, we can associate documents at any point in the process. For example, here we have a Unisoft document created for the board overlay that will come in at SMT top operation. Here we have a data sheet that applies to U1, which will be presented all the time, and that's from an HTML document. So basically you can bring any type of document, HTML, Word document, a Unisoft document. If you have the plugins, you can run videos, movies, anything supported by a standard browser is allowed. The menu table is dynamic, so as the unit passes through each operation, dynamically the view menu is shown. Some of these items are forced popped on the screen, such as these overlays. Others would be lying and waiting for the operator if they needed those particular documents. The history table basically collects all information. We have some customers with millions of records in FDA and medical type of environments where they need to keep those for a long time. The operations table allows you to create any type of operation step that you wish. So whether it's in electronic manufacturing, textile, pharmaceuticals, military build, you can just create the operation name and apply it to a step. The $ in front of an operation indicates that it's a reserved operation for the system. For example, $anytime allows something to be done out of sequence, such as if a roving inspector was to pull a piece. $serialize allows you to serialize midstream. So cells is extremely flexible. It will allow you to track by lot where all pieces are non-serialized. It will allow you to track purely serialized units where from step 1 all units have been serialized, and using the $serialization operation you can serialize midstream. For example, if your process was 20 steps long and you did degreasing, etc. at the first few steps, and you apply your serialization at step 5, you can do that by utilizing the $serialize. The processes table is where you define your processes. For example, commercial, FDA, military, any sub-assemblies that are being used and attached in box build are defined in this table. The stations table is where you define your stations. They can either be actual physical stations or virtual stations, and it'll be applied to the step where the operator is performing that task. Subassemblies is utilized if it's a box build assembly where pieces are coming together. So you would define the main piece and then any sub-assemblies that were going to be attached along the way, and everything would be policed accordingly. The WIP table is where all current work on the production floor is stored. So all these units are in process in work in process table, and need to be completed. So you can query this table to see exactly where all your product is, and we'll be showing you that shortly. The work order table is where you define your work orders, your number of pieces in the work order, the serialization of the pieces if they're going to be serialized, and the assembly that they're attached to. In cells, we'll go through some of the features. If the operator needs to log a defect, when it's invoked, they can put the quantity. It automatically logs all the information on the person doing the operation, what operation it's in. Then the specific defect codes for that operation are listed so that the operator can put that in. If they want to put any other information, they can. The bill of materials, etc., is imported previously into the database, so we can just select a device. We automatically get the part number and any other information on the part, and the operator can put remarks in the remark field as needed. This information is then saved in the database. When the operation is complete, the user can pass the unit forward to the next step. So we're at incoming inspection, work order 21, and we're going to go, if we pass it, which is the default state, we're going to go to board prep. We also have the option to do other failures such as electrical or mechanical or whatever is in the routing table. You can search for elements. For example, you can find, if you're dealing with electronic manufacturing, you can find reference designators, pins. You can also find traces, highlight particular traces. For example, you can highlight 2 traces to find a short underneath a device where the 2 traces may meet, that type of thing. You can search by net name, bill of material information, etc. There are several display modes where you can, depending upon what type of manufacturing. For example, we're doing electronic manufacturing at this point, and our menu looks like this, which is more specific to that particular type of manufacturing. You can also go to other types of manufacturing. For example, for general manufacturing, the icon set would look like this. and you wouldn't have a PC board on the screen. You'd have something involved with your build. For example, you can have an AutoCAD file of a cabinet or a PDF Adobe file of some type of operation, non-electronic. Really doesn't matter, whatever you wish to bring up on the screen. As far as reports, the reports are basically limitless. We collect all the data in a standard ODBC compliant database such as Access, Oracle, etc., and all that data is available. For reports, you can use crystal reports, pivot tables, and Excel, etc., to basically drill down and get the types of reports and graphs that you need. We also have some standard reports. For example, you can find out where your WIP is on the production floor, so you can see immediately all active work on the production floor and all open work orders, etc. So for example, here we have two open work orders, 21 and 22. There's 200 pieces in work order 21. One is complete. If we double click on 21, now we actually see the traveler route table for that, top to bottom. So that would be step 1, 2, etc. in the process. We can see that there's 182 pieces in income and inspection, 91%, 11 pieces in board prep, 11, 5%, and only 1 is in stock, no scrap, etc. We can also look for work order ranges between dates and look at specific work that's been done and categorize that accordingly. We can also look at time-dependent operations. So for example, if you have a unit that is supposed to be in a burn-in chamber for a minimum of, let's say, 30 minutes but not more than an hour, it will actually notify the operator which units need to be taken out of that step first. So basically it can apply a min-max range in seconds, minutes, hours, days for any step in the operation. For various different regulated industries, we have several of the standard features, such as automatic timeout. So basically, if a station is left unattended, the administrator can set a specific time to log that particular station out for security in different regulated environments. We also have password timeout, where the password would automatically become invalid and need to be changed within a certain amount of time set by the administrator, let's say a week or what have you for a particular industry. The Unisoft licensing is essentially a floating license, so you can have the software installed on as many stations as you wish, and the licensing is based on active users that are logged in from any station. So you can essentially have a 5-seat license and have 30, 40 stations on the floor, as long as concurrently no more than 5 people are logged in from any one of those stations, you're fine. For stations where you might not want the operator to have use of a keyboard or mouse, you can substitute barcoded cards, and the operator can then scan the barcode to pass the unit to the next step. The Unisoft Sales software comes with a separate program called the Sales Administrator, and this software is used by the person in charge of creating the routings and travelers for the production floor. So basically, to create new routings, you would create your assemblies, your work orders, your operations, conditions, processes from this menu. From the Opens menu, you could edit existing assemblies, etc. To create a new assembly, essentially you would click on that. You would enter your assembly ID, any documents associated with that assembly, your serial number pattern, work order pattern. Then you would create your work order, the quantity in the work order, starting serial number. Any sales orders that are attached to the work order can be entered here, and the revision level, if any. Then you can enter operations. You can create new operations, or you can add existing operations. The same with conditions. You can add existing conditions or create new ones for that particular routing. And then you can create your process ID or add existing process IDs. So using the Sales Administrator, you can quickly create new work orders for the production floor, or if that information is already existing in your MRP or ERP, you can send that data forward to sales automatically.